Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where three rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shane.
I'm the Chameleon.
And I'm Mika.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Well, we've had another great week of rugby league, a week where we're a bit wiser to what the eight's doing. We're a bit probably none the wiser with certain clubs. The women's rugby leagues are producing some very interesting results. We'll talk a little bit about both of those when we talk about our previews for this round coming up. Before I get to you, Griffo, and again, welcome Griff, welcome Mika. Before I get to you, Griffo, I'm just going to shout out to the NRL Hall of Fame players have just been announced. There are 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 players inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. I'll just quickly run through the list now. Lionel Morgan, first ever Indigenous athlete to represent Australia in any major code. Les Boyd, one of the game's hard men, representing Australia in 17 tests, played in the 70s and 80s. Benny Elias played 6 tests, 19 state of origins, 1 club player, played 235 for Balmain. Steve Renouf, just an absolute freakish winger, was part of that 4-time premiership winning Broncos team. Probably best known on the highlight reel for that try in the grand final. Cameron Smith, well, what can you say about Cameron Smith? Future immortal, no doubt. 430 NRL matches, 56 tests, 33 as captain, 42 state of origins, and part of that great Queensland team. His teammate in that was Jonathan Thurston, 4-time Dally M medalist. Played a pivotal role in the Cowboys getting their first ever premiership, as well as being an Indigenous role model. Their other teammate in the Queensland side was Billy Slater, scored 190 tries, third on the all-time list, from memory. 31 tests, 31 state of origin, 30 tests. Benji Marshall is also on the list. Premiership winner in 2005 when he was just, he was reinventing what it was to be a fast-stepping 5'8" in the NRL. Led New Zealand to the World Cup win in 2008. Cooper Cronk played in 9 grand finals between Melbourne and Sydney Roosters. 38 tests for Australia, 22 state of origins. Absolutely phenomenal player. Again, their other Queensland teammate, Greg Inglis. He won, of course, he was part of that premiership winning drought for South Sydney in 2014, playing fullback, scoring a try in that match, the last try of the game. He played 39 tests for Australia, 32 state of origins, and last but definitely not on the list is Sam Burgess. He was again part of that iconic South Sydney team to win, fracturing his cheekbone early in the game. His classic commentary as he walked off the field at half time. I suppose this is a fitting one for Sam. He's also the first ever English international to be a part of the NRL Hall of Fame. Don't know what you guys think. I can't complain about any of those players getting picked.
No, not at all.
No, I saw all those except the first one you mentioned, Lionel Morgan. He was before my time, but I saw all the other guys, and some of those guys obviously quite recently retired. I remember back in the mid-70s, I was a Western Suburbs Magpies supporter, and I would go to Lidcombe Oval and I would watch Les Boyd, a very aggressive player. Sometimes when his record suggests he crossed the line many times in terms of some of his actions on the field, and not just the tries he scored, but he was a powerhouse. Nicknamed the Cootamundra Kid when he first came in down to Sydney in about 1977, I think it was. Great player, played for Australia. Went on to play for Manly very controversially when Manly signed a number of internationals. Benny Elias came through in the early 80s when the TV, when the schoolboy competition was big on TV. From Holy Cross Ride, a team that contained also Paul Sirenen, and I think the Gale brothers might also have been part of that. I'm pretty sure Scott and Brett Gale. So they were some of the earlier inductee, or some of the earlier players to be inducted, but to just absolute rugby league quality. One of my favourite all-time players, Steve Renouf, even though he played for Queensland, even though he played for the Broncos. He was just a delight to watch, all the way through to modern day heroes recently retired like Benji Marshall, Sammy Burgess, Cameron Smith, Greg Inglis, Cooper Cronk. So Jonathan Thurston. Yeah. I mean, these are greats of the game.
Brilliant.
They'll be remembered as all-time greats, and I dare say. Sorry, I'm left off Billy Slater there as well. But as you mentioned, Shano, at least one or two of those guys will end up rugby league immortals, but all deserving of being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree. You guys know I love my NRL history. Where I think Lionel Morgan's, and probably people are saying, who is he? How long ago did he play? He played between 1959 and 1968. He played for Wynnum Manly. He was actually a New South Wales schoolboy representative. He's from the Tweed originally. From the Tweed originally. Sorry, I'm just racking my memory banks here. What is impressive about him is that he didn't come to Sydney, and quite a few Queensland players back then didn't find the need to come to Sydney. They had lives, they had jobs, they had everything in Queensland, and coming to Sydney would just be too difficult for that. He represented Queensland and Australia and was an absolute try-scoring freak in Queensland. When we talk about certain players like Ken Irvine, I suppose, and I'm not saying he's got as many tries as Ken Irvine, but we talk about people like Ken Irvine. I suppose we can talk about players like Eric Sims, a winger fullback that revolutionised the game, Michael Cleary. I'm just going through the South team here, but there's certain players that for us in Sydney, if we follow a club that we could talk about in that era. For Bob Fulton, if you go for Manly, for Queensland, that's where Lionel Morgan sits. So I think it's not only justification that he was the first Indigenous player to represent in rugby league, but Australia, in rugby league, but the wider validation of his talent. And I know when I had a discussion with a couple of people online, we were just talking about just rugby league nerds really, his name always tended to come up. He was actually named amongst the nation's finest in the 20th century. So if you're not sure, like these modern greats, we've seen them play. And I know, Mika, you've seen definitely Sam Burgess and Greg Inglis play. But when you talk about people we may not have seen play, I always think of what's their legacy, and Arthur Summons, Norm Proveman, Reg Gasnier. These are names that in the New South Wales competition to just roll off your tongue. Ron Coote. it's you can just keep going. Arthur Beats and Russell Fairfax. These are there's just, you can pluck names out of the sky in the Queensland competition. If you're plucking names out of the sky, you might think of people like Wally Lewis and Mal before he came to Sydney, but definitely for someone who stayed up there, Lionel Morgan is the man. So congratulations to all those inductees. I can't complain about any of them.
No.
So, and neither would I. Look, I think they've grabbed all the right players. Griffo, what was your grab of the week?
Well, I most of the games I watched the minis. I was elsewhere. But the guy that really impressed me,
I was elsewhere watching Souths.
Sorry,
Chris. Sorry.
No. Was Luke Brooks.
Yeah.
I thought he had an outstanding game.
Yep.
For Manly, it was the Luke Brooks show. I think they played the Raiders, and from memory, I think they were the Raiders sort of hit the front through. I think Kyle Sports scored a great try.
Well, in the first 20 minutes, it was all Raiders. I think it was Tom Trebojevic put Manly on the board, but Manly was nowhere near.
Right. Well, as
anything.
I said, I only watched the minute, but both in the first half, Brooks looked really good, and the second half, he scored a great solo try. There were other guys who did great things last week. Staggs was amazing for the Broncos, but I just thought I think Luke Brooks has made a real difference to this Manly side.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy's he's played nearly 250 games, never played a semi-final.
Really?
That's right, because with the West Tigers.
Of course, he was big at the West Tigers, but you forget he sort of came in on the tail end of that era where they made finals. Remember that?
Yeah,
I remember that.
That was after. He came in after. So he's never played finals football. 200 plus games. If he was in a decent side, he'd probably be nudging the 300 now. But
isn't that interesting that you sort of talk about? Remember, they used to talk about the big three there. So none of them would have played finals football for the Tigers.
None. No, even when we're talking.
Remember the big three?
Tedesco, Woods.
That was always.
Mitch Moses and Brooks as being the so-called big four.
Through. Yeah.
But
geez, imagine if they'd kept that side with Pappenhausen.
Well, imagine. John Lennon sang about that. Last millennium.
Yes, he did.
And then that's
right before he got shot.
These guys actually won a comp. We sort of forget. Yeah. We do forget they actually won a comp.
Yes.
Mika wouldn't know, she would have been, I don't think she was even born. But it was this millennium. It was even a surprise then. I remember going to, it was an Angels concert, actually. There might have been the night after, and Dave Gleason was the guy, and he was sort of saying, how did the West Tigers win the NRL?
Yes.
Oh, so that's a phone going off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You all right?
I'll be done.
No, you're all good. I know that Griffo was talking about the Tigers, and I remember when they had that game against the Roosters where it went to Golden Point and Golden Point again and Golden Point again. So that was Griffo's grab. Mika, is there anything that caught your eye this week? We know we had Mika's fail. Did anyone fail this week?
I actually have two teams.
Two teams that failed.
Two fails. So I have Titans versus Sharks game.
Okay. Titans Sharks, yeah.
Titans Sharks. I think Sharks were always going to win by
44-0. What happened there?
44-0.
So Titans failed?
Titans failed, but also they did win the game, but it wasn't a nice win. 34.
Are you going to talk about
36.
Para?
Penrith versus Para game. honestly, I thought Eels were going to win that game.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't.
No,
There was at no point in that game, no matter how far ahead Para were, I thought that they had it.
I thought Eels, if they just held on and if they just pulled through, I thought they could have won.
They looked like a team. Like I've seen their defense reminded me. Now Griffo. Griffo, I know Griffo likes rugby league, and Mika and I, we love our motorsport as well. Yeah. When you go to a motorsporting event, every now and then they drive off the track and they hit the polystyrene sort of sign, and it just explodes. That was the Parramatta line that night. But I suppose that's interesting.
Penrith, they're a team full of class. They will always.
Penrith are awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Penrith are awesome. South's
they
almost,
are guaranteed.
South's almost
Grant,
topped them out. Yeah, well, not guaranteed. No,
there's
no guarantees in
I
rugby
have
league.
them as guaranteed.
There's no guarantees in rugby league. Can I just, before we start talking about football games, I want to ask you two, who's the winner and who's the loser? Val Holmes was openly told by the Cowboys to start looking elsewhere. He's done that and he's signed with the Dragons. Are the Dragons the winners in this? Are they the losers in this? What are we thinking? Because I know, look, UNA can sign with Souths. That I have no idea where that's all about. We know Talangi's at Penrith. I think that's a win-win. I think both parties have won in that one. This is an interesting one for me because they're going to be looking for coverage now that they've lost the key aerial man. Lomax.
Well,
are the Dragons the winners here, or is Val the winner?
It's a lose-lose situation.
I
have it as a lose-lose.
That's the benefit of being a teenage girl. You can just.
Unfortunately, I think Valentine Holmes. He was a really one of the elite players a few years ago. Certainly before he went over to, because he had a dream.
Yes.
Before, and he had a dream. And he is nowhere near the player he was. His defense is very poor. He gets targeted. Staggs gave him a bath. The Blues guys gave him a bath. He'd have to be the cleanest centre running around now because he's getting a bath every
many
week.
Baths.
Basically. Yeah. He was a great player. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but he's not a great player now.
No.
So it depends on how many dollars. Because I think he was going to be near $1 million player, if not $1 million player at the Cowboys.
830,000.
830.
3 years, like each year.
I think so.
He's the winner.
Yeah,
that's a massive chunk of your cap. I think the Dragons are hoping that the cap increases $1 million by the time that ends because
that's a bad sign.
Outside back, like what's Brian on?
Not that.
And who would you have?
650 or something.
650. I'm telling you now, I know who I'd rather have in my team. Wow.
Well, look, I don't even think Val Holmes is worth half of that now.
No.
I think realistically.
Well, look at who they got next year, right?
Because aren't they also signing Cookie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already signed. Yeah.
Okay, you look at Val Holmes.
Oh, sorry, $850 a season.
$850
a season.
Better. But
a season for 3 years. Like
surely.
Do the maths, nearly $4 million.
You know what I think? Can I say this? When I heard they signed him, my genuine thought was they're trying to sign something that's akin to like for like. We need a goal kicker, we'll buy a goal kicker.
Yeah.
We need a winger, we'll buy a winger. I genuinely think, like, okay, I'm just a rugby league fan, right? If my team paid $450 for him, I'd say that's fair money.
Yeah.
That's what for what he's shown. Okay? He's not Val Holmes 10 years ago. He's Val Holmes 2025 now.
Yeah.
Are they trying to tell me that goal kicking is worth another double that? Like that again? Like surely not. Surely there's some kid somewhere in the like
In the
Tyrell
selection
Sloan could practice over the off season and become a goal kicker. You know what I mean? I'm not devaluing goal kickers.
But, Chanel Harris Tavita.
Yeah, what? No. He's some have got it, some don't. But but you know what I mean? Like there's certain players that they've been goal kickers in their junior career, and it's just that circumstance or a better kicker comes along. Like, you know, like surely that's all right, I'll say it. It's irresponsible. If I was a St. George fan, my first thing would be that's an irresponsible signing at that money. Am I being too hard?
No. I think Dragons must
I don't know
still
about
be
irresponsible.
seeing
I
them.
think it's a bad signing, but
I think Dragons still must be seeing them in what he was.
But are the Dragons
years
a
ago.
team where I know the Dragons are a team that haven't had a lot of success, and the Bennett, you know, we talk about the Tigers, you know, that how far away that were. The Bennett Jamie Soward days are almost just as far away. They haven't had a lot of successes late. I don't think he's a guy I'd be pinning my hat on to start providing success for my club.
No.
Shane and Mika, I think what's happened is they've said, okay, this is what we're paying Lomax, or what we offered him.
Yeah.
So we've got this money in the cap. We need a named player. He's the only one that's sort of on the market. They have chased a few, but not been successful. I said the same thing when they paid big dollars for Leilua. He's gone all right, but he hasn't gone $900,000 of all right. Like, you've got to be, if you're on that sort of money, you've got to be winning your team games consistently. I don't think Val Holmes is a centre. No. I think they'll play him on the wing.
No, they will. You've almost
which makes him the richest winger in the league by some considerable way. And he's a long way past his best. Every team needs a goal kicker, and we've seen teams lose games on goal kicks. He'll fill that bill, and he'll do it well. He's a very good goal kicker, but and he's still, not bad ball in hand, but his defense is very poor.
Yeah.
I think they're paying massive overs. But I guess when I was going to say a struggling club, well, they're just on the edge of the 8 at the moment. They've had a great year compared to what I expected.
100% they have, yes.
At his best, he's a really good player, but I just can't see he's going to improve on what's been a couple of pretty ordinary years. Whether it was the environment at the Cowboys, he's got an association with Coach Flanagan that goes back to winning a comp at Cronulla. But gee, that was a while ago. I guess we can only look forward.
100%.
I caught the end of one of Mika's, what's it called, Mika? Your flop or whatever?
My fail.
Fail, there. And you were talking about the Eels, and Shane, you were sort of quite harsh also.
That's my role in this
Well,
podcast. Because I was just about to say by letting the Val Holmes thing finish before we go to this group.
Yeah.
What's Taruva on at the Tigers?
I don't know.
Less than Holmes.
Well, probably Holmes is a home and Taruva's a little rental shack somewhere. But,
wow. Anyway, sorry, Griff, I interrupted.
That's all right. Look, I was watching the game on a very sketchy TV up at Yalara with Uluru there.
Yes.
And I really, I thought we were struggling. I thought it was one of Penrith's worst performances, if not the worst performance they put in this year. They were doing very un-Penrith-like things, pushing passes, silly mistakes, giving away penalties. And I actually, part of a WhatsApp group with the lads I sit at the game, and I sort of said, they're trying to create a record for dumbass plays in one game. Some of the things they do, Luai's had a great year, but gee, it was a clanger where he literally, put the ball on a platter for Parramatta to get 6 points. But Liam Martin with and he knew straight away he stuffed up.
1 week.
Yeah, and deservedly. He deserved. I can't argue. He's not arguing. Nobody's arguing. No one is. It's a week. He made a bad mistake, and then he was 10 in the bin, and we actually scored. When I say we, Penrith scored while Martin was in the bin, but then Parra hit back, and I think it was the last Gutherson try. I thought, okay, well, it's pretty much game over. We're 3 tries behind. I think it was down to about 6 or 7 minutes left on the clock. I never, I don't switch off the TV, but, I thought we were gone. But again, the great qualities that this team has, it's not just Nathan Cleary. Like, he's the leader along with Isaiah Yeo, but these guys will never give up. And that's something that I greatly admire. And I, I've been following this team for, I guess it's close on 40 years now. And, there's been some bad times, but obviously it's the absolute crest of a wave at the moment. But it's not just, the fancy tries that they are capable of producing. It's that attitude that never give up, never say die. They're always in the game. And that's what I love about this team.
Can I tell you the clanger of that game, in my opinion? Parramatta thought that they could just run around Penrith again. Like, to be fair, Parra actually ran through Penrith. They were smart. They ran through them. And then they had a penalty just left of the sticks, 20 out, slotted over, another 2 points, chew up some time, and they didn't. They took a tap and they went wide. They ran one tackle in the middle. And I think it might have been Isaiah Yeo. Someone, I can't think who it was, nailed them. Absolutely put them on their bum. And it wasn't one of them big, massive hits that's going to be on air time for here to Timbuktu. It was just a good shot. And then what that did is it made Parra go sideways for 5 tackles and then hand the ball back to Penrith, and that's where it started. Had Parra just played the numbers game, wound down the clock, go for 2 points, you're ahead by 14. So then there's you're ahead by 16. So you're putting pressure on Cleary. You're putting pressure on Cleary to kick everything if something goes wrong. And he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but if you push him wide, this, that, and the other, had they gone for that too, number one, it wouldn't have gotten that far. But just say Penrith could get it, because time wouldn't have allowed for it. But just say Penrith could get it, would have been an extra point. I just think it was that whole idea of we're going to take this first tap. We're just going to run this big forward in the middle. And Isaiah, I'm sure it's Isaiah. It was one of the whichever forward it is, they're brilliant, all of them. They just went bang, and it was just like, oh, we'll have to go around them now. And it was just, I thought it was great to watch. We've got another week of football ahead, though. We're going to do the women's game first.
All right.
This competition already, in my opinion, is throwing up some of the surprise packets. People listening to this podcast think I have two teams now. They think I've got South Sydney, who are my one and only. But there's people saying I'm on the Parramatta women's team. Now, I actually watched the South Sydney women's team in the other competition on New South Wales Rugby League TV. If you haven't got it, get New South Wales Rugby League TV. It's great. But, hey, Parramatta are doing some good things. People think I'm on there. Look, they play. I just want to put it out there. I just want to put it out there that at 6:10 at Campbelltown Sports Stadium in Sydney, they play the Tigers. So when I picked Para, it's only because they're playing the Tigers. Anyway, we'll go to the first game of the week. It is the Brisbane Broncos. They're taking on the Canberra Raiders in the Women's Rugby League. Look, if you told me, look, the Broncos definitely are a shadow of their former self. And if you're wondering why I'm stalling people, it's because my computer just isn't where it should be right now. But what I will say is this: we've got a Broncos team who probably is a shadow of their former self, up against a Canberra side who really haven't found their boots yet. They haven't found their straps. They haven't quite found. They just haven't found where they want to play. It's a totally workwear stadium in Brisbane, this game. 11 a.m. on Saturday. Look, regardless of who's in and out, I just think that for me, watching the first few rounds, and I don't know what you guys think, the Broncos aren't the force they used to be. They're on a bit of a slide. They've got some quality, but they're on the slide. The Raiders are a work in progress, and when you look at the players coming in for both sides, I think that on the extended bench, I think they understand that they're a work in progress, and right up until an hour before kickoff, they still want options. This is where I'm picking Brisbane in this game. It's in Brisbane, that's why. But I think that the Raiders would feel that the Broncos are vulnerable. But for me, the Raiders are just this work in progress. Tamara and Quinlan really need to start working this team around and leading this team. Tamara on both cases, by the way, because one of them is the hooker as well, number 9, as well as 6 and 7. I just think that they're 6, 7, 9 just need to start moving the team around. Broncos, good forward pack. I got the Broncos winning this one, but this game, if it was Neapolitan ice cream, seems a bit more vanilla than anything else, Griff. Broncos, just because they're the Broncos at this point in time, and the Raiders are a work in progress.
Yeah, I've actually I didn't see any of the women's game over the weekend, but since I've watched a few of the minis, I didn't see all the games. I just finished watching the Raiders game. I think they may have played the Sharks.
Yep.
They led.
Yeah, and they lost 22.
They lost quite convincingly.
Yep.
I don't have a significant opinion on the game, but I'm going to tip Raiders. Nika.
I have Broncos for this one. I think not because they're at home, but I think just because they will be the better side this weekend.
Okay.
I just want the Raiders to win. I don't like Broncos.
Yeah, I know. I know. On Saturday at 12:45 at Country Bank Stadium in Townsville, it sees the Cowboys, who are in ninth at the moment, take on the fifth place Gold Coast Titans. Alicia Ford's out. Williams Guthrie, she's out for the Titans. Look, last week when we think about these sides, I think when I look at the Titans, I just see a side that's just continuing to just brim with confidence, except for when they just they didn't quite they weren't quite at their best last week, and that's what worries me is that did
they lose by a lot against the Broncos?
Yeah, smashed 44-4.
Yeah, 44-4.
Oh.
Titans,
Wow.
Titan. It was not a great weekend if you were a Titans fan.
44 was a bad number.
If you were a Titans fan, you did not have a great weekend out. 44-4. Against the the other
Previously winless Broncos.
Well, and the other side of the ledger, if you're a Cowboys fan, they lost 20-6 against the Eels.
I didn't see that one, but
the Eels, very good. What worries me, and this is where this game, I don't know where to go. The Titans were outplayed. Their defensive line looked like Swiss cheese at times. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they just didn't. They looked like a group of players who were together for the first time. They did not look like the 38-34 win team against the St. George Illawarra Dragons in round 2. I do think, though, watching last week and watching what the teams did, there's something that says to me that the Cowboys are probably going to be able to bounce back at home a bit more than what the Titans can. The Titans were just they were pumped, and even their try in the 50th minute, it really didn't show that they were going to come back or make a match of it, and it was one of those games where they were dominated. I got the Cowboys in this one only because when I look at last week and their loss to Para, it just feels like they might. Yeah, it's that time of year in this women's rugby league competition where we're still a bit of ducks and drakes. We're still trying to feel who's starting to gain ascendancy. The Titans are off the boil. The Titans are off the boil after last week. I know that old school listeners of Carpool would remember that call. Shano's off the boil, and for me, it's the Titans. Titans are off the boil. They beat the in round 2 they beat the Tigers, and they got pants last week. I think if they don't turn up this week, they're in trouble. But I've got the Cowboys winning this, Griff.
Yeah, I think the gas will be turned back on, and I think the Titans will get up. They've got Jamie Chapman, they've got Lauren Brown, they've got Ivania Politi. I think they got more class than the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't inspire me in any way. I know that they got pumped last week, but still 2-1, and they got a good side. So I'll stick with them, Mika.
I think this is a tough one. I think it's a flip of a coin at this point, but I'm gonna have Cowboys because they're at home this week.
Fair call. All right. Next game in Women's Rugby League, we have the St. George Illawarra Dragons coming in 8th versus the Roosters. If we talk about the last two teams maybe being out of form, I tell you what, the Roosters are on fire. They are red hot at the moment. They are playing some phenomenal football. It's going to take the absolute best of the Dragons. Now, Dragons beat the Knights last week. Great performance, 18-10. They played some really good football. The Roosters at the moment, though, they beat the Tigers last week, and more notably, really put it to the Broncos the week before. Beaten by the Knights, though, in round one, in what was a really good game.
It's an outstanding game.
I'm actually look. I know that we've got the men's game coming up, and Thursday night's game, Panthers Storm, is just going to be an absolute ripper of a rugby league match. We've got the Bulldogs Dolphins. They're on Saturday. Another ripping match. Can I add this game to that list? I think this is going to be an absolutely ripping match. I think the Dragons are ready to play. I think a lot of people saying, Shane, hang on, there's 3 games in. We're talking about the Roosters, like you're saying they're on fire. I'm telling you now, last week they just looked like this accomplished rugby league side that was ready to take this competition by the scruff of the neck. The Dragons also taking it to the Knights. The thing with the Dragons win, which impressed me, was 4 tries to 2. And after the and it was 10-0. And the Dragons scored 18 unanswered points, which also impressed me. I'm really looking forward to this game. As a rugby league fan, I think this is going to be a cracking match. It's for me, Taranaki. Taranaki is the one that's just going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. Never ever cancel our team with Teague and Berry in it. Kimberly Hunt scored a double last week. I think this is going to be the Roosters in a close one, Griff.
Yeah, you've given this game a big rap, and if you can live up to that, it'd be great. As I said, I've just in the last just before we come on here, I watched a couple of the games with the minis. I watched the Roosters play the Tigers. Tigers were very gallant. Roosters got some late tries. The score blew out, but they're a class act, this Sydney Roosters side, and they're stacked with talent. They should win. I was impressed by what I saw from the Dragons in getting over the top of the Raiders after they were down. Tegan Berry, we know she's an outstanding attacking player, but I actually saw her do some things in defence that I hadn't really seen her do before. So that's great that because she's very similar to a Tyrell Sloan. Great with the ball in hand, great speed, but a bit of a speed bump when it comes to defence. But she's worked on that obviously because she stopped tries last week, which I was glad to see. They have got the classy Racine McGregor, and they've got, I think the 5'8" Tyler King is one of the young ladies who's come from the gold medal winning New Zealand Sevens rugby side, and the Broncos have got one as well. I think her name's Wacker. There's 3 or 4 that have filtered into the NRLW, and I read today the Sharks had signed an Australian representative as well. So they've got a couple of serious injuries. The Sharks, we'll get to them later.
I wonder if there's any Canadian coaches that have got the drones out for.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The interesting thing I've noticed is that the Dragons have put young Casey Ray Cyrus into the hooking position. She's she's a great halfback, but they thought we've just got to get this young lady onto the field. She threw a beautiful pass. I don't know who the winger was, but set up a try. She's class actor, Casey Ray Cyrus. So they found a spot for her.
Yeah, there's certain footballers that just got to get their hands on the football and they can do magical things. Yeah.
But yeah, no, look forward to this one. But Roosters for me, Mika.
I actually have Dragons for this one. I think. Yep. I have Dragons. I think with the she played last game, but in 5/8 we have Tyler King and New Zealand Rugby Sevens. I think Olympic gold medalist actually.
They won the gold medal.
I think she's a world class player and. I think she can definitely have a lot to add to the side. I think she got 3 tries on debut.
Wow!
So I think that's a good stat to have, and
that's not bad. Yeah,
that's
So did she play on the wing last week? Because the wing that was her, was it? Going over for those tries.
No, don't think so.
No, Hunt scored last week 2 tries.
All right.
And Brown and Tegan Berry scored a try last week.
But, okay. And then again, I think Tegan Berry, she's everywhere. She's always there in the tries. She has amazing stats every week. I think she's a big one. So I'm gonna have Dragons winning with this one.
Jermaine Friesard will score a double this week.
You're
2 weeks in
calling
a row. 2 weeks in a row, she'll score a double.
Calling it?
Calling it now. You watch. She'll drop the ball.
Okay. Prasad to score.
She'll be horrible this week because I put the mockers on her. The next game, well, first versus fourth. If we thought the last game was going to be interesting, this one even more so. The Cronulla Sutherland Sharks taking on the Newcastle Knights, and they are at PointsBet Stadium in Sydney. To give you some perspective, last week, of course, the Sharks. To give you some perspective, the Sharks, well, they beat the Raiders last week, and the Newcastle Knights, they lost to the Dragons, as we were saying before. So
now, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
We have 2 players on debut.
Really?
This
week.
Yeah. So we have one for Sharks and one for Knights, and so for Sharks we have Shani Samal. And for Knights, we have Tanika Wilson.
Okay, so two players in there on debut. So that's
Smales an Aussie. Yep. She was a member of the gold medal winning team back in Rio and has just gone back from Paris. And who's the other young lady, Mika?
Tanika Wilson.
And she's listed at what position? Is she in the team? Or?
Sure.
Yep, she's come in. She's definitely in the.
Tanika
Wilson's on the wing.
Oh, Wilson. Okay, yeah.
Tanika Wilson's on the wing. New Zealander.
Yes, gold medal winning 2024.
Yep. And was previously won gold medal with the squad in the Tokyo Olympics as well.
All right, back-to-back gold.
There's some pretty good pedigree there. Like you can't. Her cabinet looks pretty good, I reckon.
Just adds to the star power of the Knights.
Yeah. Look, when I look at these two sides, I find this one harder to pick than a broken nose. I look at the Knights. There's a part of me that looks at the Knights and go, they're the Knights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like when you look at the Storm, they go, oh yeah, but they're the Storm. Or Panthers, they're the Panthers. The Sharks have done things this year which probably we may not have thought of, that they're 3-0, they're undefeated. They've won some good games. They've played well. They beat the Cowboys in round 1. They narrowly beat the Eels in round 2. And last week, the Raiders, they really they won by 24-12. I just got the Knights in this one. I look at the Knights side, and I still think it's just such a lovely side. Well, the Tamika Upton. Talk about Tanika Wilson coming in with her pedigree. You've got Roach and Southwell, 6 and 7. Olivia Higgins in 9. One of my favourite forwards in Yasmin Clydesdale, Hannah Southwell and Locke. I just think that they are accomplished side. However, when you look at people like Staples, Penatani, Taylor Preston, Ellie Johnson, just a phenomenal forward. Quincy Dodd, again playing some great football. Brooke Anderson. It's hard to pick. I've just got the Knights. I just think the Knights are they're a more cohesive side, but the Sharks are definitely on the way up. Griff?
Yeah, I find it hard to think that Newcastle are going to go down 2 weeks in a row. They are up against the competition leaders, undefeated, the only undefeated team in the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, and they've been good. I was impressed with some of the things they were doing in attack last week. Hanaway, I don't know much about Georgia Hanaway, but she did some really nice things in attack with at least one try assist. Penatani was great. Biddle looks a good... she's a big, strong centre. I wasn't really aware of her before. They got two, unfortunately, two big injuries. Jada Taylor out for the season. Emma Tonegato's been out for a few weeks. She is listed on the extended bench, but unlikely to play.
Absolutely. Apparently, I was reading today, 1% chance of playing.
Yeah. Well, she won't be there.
Just thrown in there because
they're not going to risk her. I mean, they're on 6 points.
They could lose another 2 matches and still make it in the finals.
They're having a really good year, but I do think they'll experience their first loss. The Knights hadn't lost for a couple of years. I think it was a 12-game winning streak brought to an end last week, and they'll be wanting to turn that around. I don't think they're going to lose this game,
Mika, can I just talk to you about one player? Griffo mentioned Anissa Biddle, changed the game, her try.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this...
Powerful.
Oh, powerful. Are we... I suppose in talking about who you think's going to win this game this week, looking at the 2 4-packs, is the power game going to play a part?
Look, I think Yasmin Clydesdale's going to play a big role in that, and so's Hannah Southwell for the forwards. And I think for the Sharks, Ellie Johnston, she's definitely going to be up there, and she's...
But she scored a try.
She scored a try.
Last try for the Sharks, again, power game.
Yeah.
It's sad also that her sort of namesake, Caitlin Johnson, I think she's Johnson Green these days, she's out for the season. I think.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was an ACL, but it's a season-ending injury, which is a massive loss for the Knights. They've still got a big, strong pack, though. But Johnson, as you mentioned, Ellie of Variety, she scored a very powerful try through the middle last week.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to have Sharks for this one. They're at home.
You like the whole team?
They're at
Wow.
home. They're...
Okay.
I think they could be like the breakthrough team of the...
Yeah, right.
Of the season. You know, like when in like... You know, like, remember in 2020 when Penrith really gave Storm like a run for their money, and then went on to win the next year after that.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Yeah.
I think they could be like.
I
think it could be that little situation.
Okay. Well, the Sharks as an entity are very good at starting well and then
but
doing
this
what
could
they
be
do.
like their little push over the edge.
I'm not having a go. I'm just saying. Okay, this game. Well, if we're looking at the 2 games above this being tight affairs, it's going to be interesting to see what this one comes about. It's the 10th place West Tigers up against the Parramatta Eels. I suppose Kezi Apps is not playing. Harmony Crichton's also out. That really puts the Tigers behind the 8 ball if they weren't there already. The Parramatta Eels have found a cohesion this year that I think many may have thought wasn't there. They sort of. Okay, listeners, we just had a few technical issues here. If you're wondering why we're jumping, we're talking about Parramatta not having the cohesion that was there beforehand. But I think what we're starting to see now is we're starting to see a football side that has the potential that we always thought they had. And I know last year, very early on, they were playing some poor football, but now looking forward, they're doing some really good things. Abby Church at fullbacks found her feet there. You've got Pearson in at halfback, really moving the play around. I just think that the West Tigers without Apps is just such they are a struggling rugby league side. I've got the Parramatta Eels winning this one. What do you guys think?
Well, we do have Carpool Rugby League favourite and Coach International Jess Kennedy, who's been on the bench as the 18th player every week while the team went down. Well, I think she's come in. She's on the
interchange, number 17.
Yeah, so obviously a big Carpool favourite, and we wish Jess well in her first game for the year. Hard to see the Tigers, although, look, Para, yes, they've gone well, but this is the Tigers probably, they lose this and their season's over. They have to win. I don't know if they've got the talent to do it, though. So I'd probably lean towards Para, but I would like to see the Tigers get up here. Mika?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a must-win for the Tigers, but I don't think they have the potential and talent really to do that. I think they might come close, but I think Eels, this is definitely a win for them.
All right. So, women's game this week, done and dusted. Done and dusted. So now we're talking about the Telstra Premiership NRL men's games. And wow.
Giants.
What a way to start this week. Can I just say, both teams probably slightly out of form last week. Not this week. I reckon it's going to be a cracking game. I can't wait to put my backside in the arse groove in my lounge, in my spot, and watch the Penrith Panthers at Bluebet Stadium in Penrith take on the Melbourne Storm. It's second versus first. Liam Martin is out, of course, suspended for a game. But that really, the Panthers merry-go-round of who's in, who's out, it doesn't matter. They both winners last week. I have a saying, you'd rather win ugly than lose pretty, and they both won ugly because they are brilliant football sides. Dane Laurie's in at fullback regardless of the fact that Dylan Edwards is named on the extended bench. I'll just let you guys know we're doing this on Wednesday evening. That means we have an interchange bench with 2 reserves. Dylan Edwards is one of them. Dylan Edwards is one of those reserves, named number 20. Number 19 is James Fisher-Harris. So just to let you guys know, there are 2 players at the moment who are still being named, even with the drop-offs for the Penrith side.
I think it's been reported, Shane, that both are going to play. They're going to come into the 17.
That's added, mate. That's like adding the supercharged sauce to your Zinger burger. That is very good. For the Storm, look, geez, Kane Brayley, he's out, but they have Katoa Fa'alongo. They're on the well, no, I tell a lie because Katoa's actually in the side. Fa'alongo is the one that's on the replacements. But
I want him to stay there.
Yeah, well, yes.
I don't want him on the field.
Yeah, he might come up. Kamakamika.
I don't want any HIAs. I want Fa'alongo sticking on the bench.
Just to let you guys know, Tyron Wishart, number 14, Kamakamika is in at 16. That has a fairly formidable bench. Look, I'm not going to tell anyone how the Panthers are going to be situated and play. We have an expert here with that, and his name's the Chameleon. I'm going to say this. Penrith at home for the last 4 years have just been a different beast. I know they had their issues last week and they still won. The Storm weren't great against Souths and won. If you throw Dylan Edwards into this game, into this team with James Fisher-Harris, you've got Taruva, Tago, To'o, Luai, who I think, we're waiting for that game that Luai plays where we go, ooh, hang on, what's Luai doing? He's had that. Now let's move forward. Nathan Cleary, since coming back from injury, is just outstanding. One of the most underrated players in rugby league is Moses Leota, in my opinion. Maverick guys in the starting lineup. Isaiah Yeo, if you want to go back to the Carpool Rugby League archives of 6-7 years ago, Graham and I were absolutely raving about this guy. I think he actually featured in the guy you'd like to see in your club. That was that many years ago. Fast forward 6-7 years, and he is captain of what has to be said is one of the most successful rugby league sides of our generation. Melbourne Storm, you got the Flying Dutchman and Ryan Pappenhausen, that fullback, really playing some great football. Can I just say Jerome Hughes, he is my pick for the Daily M medal. He is just playing some phenomenal football. I don't know where he was at, or no, I know he's fairly good when they stopped counting. I don't know exactly where he was at, but the value from their forwards, Harry Grant, Big Nelson, Sean Bloor, how many times we talk about this guy over the years, and he's starting to find the form that we knew he could. Tyron Wishart, Kamakamika on the bench. I've got Penrith Griff, but like I said, far be it from me to start talking about the Panthers. We have an expert in our team for that, and that's you. Look, what's going to happen? I've got the Panthers winning. Griff, Mika, what have you got? You got the Panthers winning?
I have Storm.
Well, you have Storm. Okay, well, let's let Griffo talk, then you can have a chat. Griffo, tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, look, if I wasn't a Penrith supporter, I'd probably pick the Storm myself. I have done my tips, and I did put Penrith down as the winning team, and they are most capable of it. But
I
mentioned earlier that I thought last week, apart from the whirlwind at the end where they stood up, was probably one of the worst games they've played, where the majority of their team has been in. Those rep players, yes, they were missing a couple, but I thought their defense out wide has struggled for some time. It's not that they can't tackle; it's just that some of the choices that they make to rush up and get nobody and then leave the overlap. They've got to tighten that up. The Storm will expose them if they're not in sync with each other. So that's an area of the game that they must improve. Their ball security last week for most of the match was poor. But again, when it needed to be on, they got the job done. I am concerned about the back rowers. I know Maverick Guy has been in the first grade side for a few weeks now. So
can I pick your brain? Sorry, you just mentioned him, and
You're
I
right.
didn't mean to interrupt you. Can I pick your brain on his defence? What do you think? Because I actually think if there's one area I would like him, like a lot's made of attack. I would love him to be that, I suppose with the name Guy, you think of that hard tackling, hurt them type of footballer. What do you think about his defence? I just think that there's one part of his game that maybe need tweaking. It's that. Am I right in saying that?
I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest. He's had to come on and play in the centres in a few games.
Maybe that's why,
So I'm not going to judge at this stage. I'm not seeing enough. This is his test this week against the ladder leaders. I'm obviously want to see him succeed. One, because he's playing for my team, and two, because of that family history. He's a good size. He's mobile. He's on his mother's side. His uncle is Brandy Alexander.
Yeah.
So
he's got horrible pedigree.
It's a fair set of genes that he's got going for him to be a rugby league player. So he's unfortunately over the years, he's sort of, when his chances come up, he's got injured. But now he's there, and he can establish himself long term if he can get the job done tomorrow night and through the rest of the season and become a premiership winner. That's going to give him all sorts of confidence going forward. The Melbourne Storm were very keen to sign him a couple of years ago before he re-signed with Penrith. So, I'm looking forward to him starting as a back rower and seeing what he can do. What concerns me is Liam Henry at number 12. Now, I think Liam Henry is an absolutely fabulous front rower and quite, potentially a blue down the track in the front row. But I don't think he's got the speed and the agility to be a back rower. And I've noticed, when he's been forced to play there, it's not his fault. They're just all their back rowers are injured at the moment or suspended. And I've no doubt whatsoever that Liam Henry's side of the field will be targeted quite heavily by the Storm, who've got some very smart players. Grant, Hughes, Monster. They're all high IQ in relation to rugby league. So the pressure, he's going to be under the most pressure of anyone in the side, I think, Liam Henry. They've really got no other option to play second row. Although, in saying that, potentially Captain Isaiah Yeo, who originally made his name as a back rower in the second row, could potentially play a wider role, and you could perhaps have Matthew Eisenhuth playing lock, or even Liam Henry for that matter. I think, in the middle of the field is where Liam Henry's going to do his best stuff. Storm, they've been classy this year. Their last 2 weeks haven't been so good. They went down to the Dragons, and then they looked like they were going to rattle up a cricket score against the Rabbitohs last week, but I think the final margin was only something like 12 or something like that. So against a severely weakened South Sydney Rabbitohs. So they're not in the best of form, but the reality is that they would have been thinking about this game for a few weeks. If they win this game, pretty much the minor premiership is over, and they will be the minor premiers. If they lose it, these two teams will be level on points, and I dare say very close to the differential, of which I think Melbourne might be about 5 or 7 points ahead of Penrith on differential. If Penrith were to win, then obviously that's going to at least get closer, or it's going to turn around. So it's a big game. Who misses out? Edwards comes in. Let's say I can't see they're going to drop Dane Laurie, but I don't know whether they're going to put him on the bench with Trent Tolau already there. Jack Cole is listed at 17. I've no doubt that if James Fisher-Harris is fit, that he will be dropping off that bench and probably go back to 18th man. The Storm, they look strong. That's a strong, mobile forward pack there with Big Nelson, King, Law, Katoa, Liero, up against a weakened Penrith forward pack with, Penrith's sort of Liam Martin provides the grunt. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to tip Penrith, but not with great confidence. They can get the job done, but it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Mika, you're tipping Melbourne. For what reason?
Hey, you're Mexican?
I think, okay. So my reasoning for Storm is that I don't really know, but I just have a good feeling that they're just gonna
Sounds like
Penrith
a bad
are at
feeling to
home.
me.
Penrith are at home. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna lock in Storm because I think they will want to have that minor premiership. Their side looks pretty strong. Is this no? This
I think
is
the only
Ross's
guy that
second
they're
week
missing
back.
is Xavier Coates.
Yeah,
I think
this
he's the
is-
only one that, if they're selecting their best 17, I think Coates is the only guy that's not there.
Yeah. But I think they're definitely gonna want that minor premiership, and I actually think whoever wins this game will most probably win the grand final.
Hey, can I draw
Yeah,
your
cool.
attention? I want to draw your attention to a game I went to in 2003. It was round 20, and the only reason I know is I think I could be wrong. It was the 27th of July.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Isn't that?
that's Mum's birthday.
That's
right?
Mum's birthday.
Right. Okay, so we went. So anyway, I said we're going to go to Krispy Kreme. I said let's see if we can get some tickets to the game. So if somehow I got
She
tickets
would have loved that.
to the game, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to Krispy Kreme. The Roosters beat the Panthers that day.
Okay.
Regardless of the result, watching the game, you just said these two are going to be in the grand final.
Yeah.
These are the two teams in the grand final.
Mm.
I think that's what we're going to see today, this week. Regardless of what
Yeah.
the result, these two teams are going to be
I
in the grand
think
final.
it's going to be a great, very close game, but
Yeah.
I have Storm for no real particular reason, except for I think they're going to want the minor premiership.
Well, on Friday at 6 o'clock at Four Pines Stadium, we have the Manly Warringah Seagulls taking on the New Zealand Warriors, 6th place, 14th. I suppose Tuare Martin is out for the Warriors. In a Seagulls side that seems to have found some harmony and found some consistency in their performances. Ruben Garrick's kicking has been on point. He's turning 4 into 6 more often than not, as we know he can. Luke Brooks, we mentioned earlier in this podcast, has been was absolutely on point last week. The Warriors, on the other hand, they have been harder to pick than a broken nose. It's just so tough to sort of watch at times. You look at this side and you think to yourself, like they should be playing better than what they are. Then all of a sudden you think they're going to win and they lose, and you think they're going to lose and they're going to win. Last week it was 34-32 loss to the Dolphins. They did flash home some way. Mitch Barnett.
Did they score more tries? I've got a feeling they did.
They did. They scored one
It
more
was
try.
Harris Tavita
It was 6
again,
tries to 5.
unfortunately.
Harris Tavita got 4 from 6, whereas Jermaine Osako 5 from 5.
Yeah. He missed some easy ones.
Yeah, I look. Because of their coach, I hate to say it, but I think the Seagulls, they could well and truly be finals bound. This game will further cement that. I've got the Dragons? No, I've got the Seagulls winning this game, and I've got them winning it pretty comfortably in the end. Griff, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I do expect Manly will win this game. It's too important for them. These two teams have fought out a draw earlier in the year, the only game that ended in a draw after extra time. The Warriors have been a massive disappointment in terms of their performance. Manly, I did have them in the 8 at the start of the year. I thought they'd be down around about 7th or 8th. Looks like they might be slightly higher than that, but you just can't bank on them. But they got class, and they don't often lose it to Four Pines.
No,
I think that's what it's called these days at Brookvale.
Or is it Brookie?
I think this is one of the games I'm a little bit more confident about this week. Certainly the first game, 50-50. I think this is about a 70-30 Seagulls, and I'll back them. Mika.
Yeah, I have what's her name? Manly for. I have Manly for this one. I think coming off of a very big, very dominant win, 24-46 last week against the Raiders. So they're also at home, and I think they definitely have the side to do it. And this is, give me 2 seconds. Yeah, this one is a must win. I think to stay in the 8. No.
Well, they're in. Yeah, they're 6th.
They're 6th.
I think consolidate.
If they want to stay in the 8, then
I see what you're saying. You're saying it'll cement it.
It'll cement the 8.
That's fair call. I think that quite often we're in Manly teams of the past, we've waited for the bubble to burst. I think Luke Brooks, like Griffo said earlier this podcast, he's been, where we've often talked about Cherry Evans or Trbojevic. I think Luke Brooks has been the missing piece in somewhat of the puzzle there. So, all right. So there's some consensus on that one. At 8 o'clock, and I swear when Channel 9 probably bought this game, they said, wow, this is going to be awesome. The Roosters in 3rd space take on the Eels in 16th at Allianz Stadium at 8 o'clock. Look, it's basically 1-17 for both sides. As you see it, this is an interesting game for me, because I actually spoke to someone during the week, and I'll go on record here to say, if there's any team that can burst the Panthers' Storm bubble, it's the Roosters. The Roosters just look like this side that just are brewing away in the background. They're just bubbling away in 3rd place, and you know what? They have one performance that just goes bam. They also have that performance where you go, what was that? They are they're a top-notch side. What are they doing? They probably have this week the most strongest team they could possibly field. Up against the Eels, who last week, played some good footy. They played some solid football, held the ball. I just think when I look at the team, I look at Radley, Watson, Crichton, Collins, Smith, Leniu. Like, that's a forward pack that could be... Like, if you had an international style forward pack, that's that. Walker Keary, Dom Young, Manu, Swatali'i, Tupou, Tedesco. That's first class. That's on paper, and we know games aren't won on paper. But that's first class. I've got the Roosters winning here, and I've got them winning pretty easily. Griff, Mika, any difference here?
Yeah, I have difference.
You got the Eels.
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
You just hate you hate the Roosters that bad, you'll burn a pick.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But I'm gonna go for Para because I think they came so close last week.
Really?
And yeah, Para is really bipolar, and they.
Yeah, they are. And I think it's going to be the bad Para this week.
Yeah, but I feel like...
I think they're going to be by the polls for most of the night.
I think they're going to pull through.
Their own goal polls, mate.
I genuinely think they're going to pull through, and I think they can do great things.
I'll tell you what, Well, okay, so you reckon Para?
Yes.
Okay, Griffo?
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, Shane. I think, look, Para put everything into last week's game. They had the game won, and I think that would have broken them mentally. Yeah. A team that's, just one above the bottom of the ladder. I can't see them getting up for this game because it all went into last week's game. The Roosters are the most ruthless of teams. They've got the best for and against because they have so many massive wins. The Panthers and Melbourne have won quite a few more games, but the Roosters annihilate when they win. And it would surprise me not if we see a massive blowout towards the Roosters.
You know what?
To those Para supporters, if any of you are listening, you've got someone in Mika who's got faith in your team.
I do. I have a lot of faith.
Carpool Colby and Carpool Rob, mate. They need to thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm not George Michael. I've no faith. I think.
You know the
poor
magic.
Old Para. I think they're going to cop it this week.
We talked about it the other week. You know the magic number? 16. You have to hold the Roosters to 16 to win. And
I think they'll hold them to 16 in the first 20 minutes, Shane, but after that...
I don't know about the first... I think it might be a point a minute.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's...
they might prove us wrong. And they might
if we're sitting here... Look...
I hope they win now more than anything else.
I'm a fan of pie. And whether it's humble or whatnot, I'm happy to eat
American.
It. Just don't think American... Well, that's a funny movie. I haven't seen that in a while. We should have to watch that again. On Saturday at 3:00, which the doggies have sort of turned into their own. They love that 3:00 Saturday spot. We see the 5th place Dogs up against the 8th place Dolphins. Mark Nichols, smashing baby. He's out for the Dolphins. You have a series of ins for both sides, however, they're on an extended bench. I suppose the key one's going to be Tavita Pangai Jr. He's playing in a prop there. Oren Keeley, he's a first drop on the extended bench, and they tend to go after that.
Hugh Hefner's son making his debut.
He is. And so you see, this is a game. When I look at the Dogs, I'm looking at players like, and I think we said this last week, Connor Tracy playing some great football. Kiraz, Bronson Sherry, Stephen Crichton is just outstanding. Adokar, Matt Burton, Toby Sexton. Can I just say that Tracy Kiraz, Bronson Sherry, Crichton, Adokar, and Burton with Sexton, that's becoming one of the informed backlines of the rugby league. Now I'm going to talk about one of my favourite players, Josh Curran. If you could clone that guy's heart and spirit, he has just gone to another level this year. When I think of what Serraldo's done with this dog side, and and I don't mean this disrespectfully to Penrith fans. When I think about Penrith, and I remember once upon a time where Penrith fans were very critical of me, what I said was they're a team of potential that just don't seem to see it. Fast forward, they win 3 premierships. When I look at this Dogs team, I think in the last couple of years we see a team of potential that all of a sudden are starting to see it. Josh Curran's starting to see it. Reid Marnie. Kickout has come from a very successful program. Kurt Mann, and I know people go, oh, Matt Burton, well, he was Penrith. He was Penrith a long time ago. What he's done from here on in, he's built at the Dogs. And I think Serraldo's done a phenomenal job with that. They're up against one of the most successful coaches this week of all time.
Wayne.
And what their team can do. I look at these two sides and I just think this is at Bundaberg. I have a soft spot for Bundaberg because my favourite drink hails from there. But Jermaine Osako with the key guy, the Hammer. I think that it's just this back line, like Hammer, Osako, Avarillo, Farnworth, Bostock, Nicarima, Katoa. Like what they've built.
It's a good back line.
Oh, it is. And what they've built with the Dolphins, and I'll talk about the Dogs, it's like this. I think this is where the value is. I think the back line is actually going to be, for both clubs, I think we're going to see this expansive, spread it wide type of football game that's going to be absolutely exciting to watch. I've got the Dogs in this one. With not a lot of confidence. I know it's a home game for the Dogs and it's in Bundaberg, which is close to the Dolphins' territory. I know there's a lot of mullets in the Doggies, so that's being a rum pig. I love a bit of rum, so the old mullet seems true.
He's got the mullet.
Yep,
kind of fair.
But to say that, I just think for this one, Griff, I've got the Dogs. Well, I'm actually really looking forward to this game. I actually think this is going to be a really, really good contest.
Yeah, well, it shapes up that way. Both teams have shown an ability to score long-range tries. The Sex Bomb is playing. He's playing to the potential that was seen in him about 3 or 4 years ago, when he broke into the NRL and he was seen as the next big halfback. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way at the Gold Coast. They released him and he's had to bide his time at the Bulldogs, played a little bit of NRL last year. And we started the year this year in reserve grade, but he's been outstanding. I thought he was the best player on the field last week against the Dragons. Some of his touches, both with his foot and through the hands, just so he's a classy guy. It's a game. What are we looking at? 3 p.m. on Saturday. I'll have to make sure I can watch this one. I'm looking forward to it. We see the weak-gutted Dog is back from injury. He comes in for, effectively, Skelton is the player to miss from last week. who signed with the Tigers. The Gerald Skelton, big unit. He's off to the Tigers. But I like this backline and both backlines there. The forward packs contrasting. The Bulldogs, somewhat smaller, more mobile, although they've got a couple of boppers there with Kickow and Hughes. But it's an experienced group of men in the forwards for the Dolphins. I think the Bulldogs will just get them. I've tipped the Bulldogs, so I hope they win because my tipping's not been that great in the last few weeks. Mika, who wins here?
I have the Dogs winning this one. I think they're at home, and I just think they have the better stats overall against the Dolphins. Jacob Kiraz has the most run meters in the game so far, with 3,889, and Reid Mahoney with 984 tackles. And
I thought you were going to say 984 sledges.
And so, yeah, I just think Bulldogs have the better overall stats. So Bulldogs will win.
Yep.
Bulldogs is unanimous.
Boogies. So that's that. Wow. I think this actually could be a very interesting game at Country Bet Stadium on Saturday at 5:30 is the Cowboys versus the Raiders. I suppose Jeremiah Nene out for the Cowboys, Jordan Rapiner out for the Raiders. Don't know what that plays into your tips, but I think that's like Keogh Weeks. That means that Sebastian Chris is on the wing. Timoko and Strange in the centres. Xavier Savage is on the other wing. This is a really interesting game because on the surface you sort of think, well, is it flip a coin? Cowboys at home. The Raiders, throughout this year, the Raiders, when the chips are down, seem to have come good. And then the last couple of outings, they've dropped the ball significantly. They've been found wanting. They just don't have the wherewithal. Can I say this? They haven't played a side whose outside centres, I'll say that again. Whose 3/4 line, so sort of centres and wingers, have had the defensive failings of the Cowboys at times. In saying that, that is where the Raiders actually punch holes. The Raiders spread the ball wide and punch holes through that 3/4 line, and that's where their value actually is. I'm really interested to see how the Cowboys can nullify that effect of the Raiders. The other thing is this. If you look at it statistically, the Cowboys are horrible when they play a team that has a very good kicking game. Jamal Fogarty can do that. I think Jamal Fogarty overplayed his hand last week. I think he thought he could just bomb continuously and grab tries. Later in the game, he changed tack slightly. Adam Cook needs to stand up and fire, but I think that if Fogarty can have the kicking game that he needs, it could help. It can definitely help the Raiders. The guy for me in this game that's going to be the point of difference is Reece Robson. Reece Robson in number 9, defensively just an absolute unit. In attack can give them options either side. For me, it's flip the coin. You know my methodology when it's flip a coin. I go the home team. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Cowboys as well. just because they're the home team.
Yep, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Griffo?
Well, it's a hard one, this one.
Oh, I agree.
It is,
That's
yeah.
why it's flipped the coin.
Both these teams, you can't sort of bank on them. One of them's got to win. So, I mean, the Cowboys, they were dreadful after surrendering a lead and then getting absolutely pumped by the Broncos. They just fell apart. And the guy who's sort of undergoing the axe as responsible is Townsend. He's out onto the extended bench there, and Clifford is the new 7. Look, the Cowboys can virtually, wrap up a top 8 spot if they can win this game. But Canberra are desperate. They have to win this game. I have trouble tipping Canberra. You have to think the Cowboys are going to give this everything after being, somewhat embarrassed last week, and I've tipped them to win here, but not with any confidence.
Yes, that's Cowboys versus the Raiders, and that's one of those ones that are pretty tough. Wow, this is the West Tigers. This is the shortest they've been in a few weeks. The West Tigers, 17th, play the South Sydney Rabbitohs in 15th at Campbelltown Sports Stadium in Sydney at 7:35 on Saturday. Look, we can talk about who's in and who's out. For either side, it doesn't really play much of a part. South Sydney riddled with injuries, and their side is showing that. In saying that, Jai Gray has played. He's played enough football now. He seems to be making that number 1 his own. Fletcher Myers scored a double, which was interesting. Whiten and Cody Walker, they're trying their best. Damien Cook, Cameron Murray at 13. Look, up against the Tigers, who are Buller, trying his best to do some things. Adam Dewey, he was actually kicking at times last week. Lachlan Galvin and Aiden Caesar, they were probably overplaying their hand at times last week when the game was in the balance. Why Stefano's still there, I don't know. If you don't want to be a part of it, I'd just be binning him. Appy doing his best. Clemmer, Seafarth, Fainu, Papali'i. These are 2 teams that I think, when looking at, Mad Monday will come and go, and Reality Tuesday will come, and I think you'll have the South Sydney Rabbitohs going, what was that? Not making the 8. You'll have the West Tigers going, we're last again. The Tigers, if South Sydney had a bogey team in these kind of matches, it's the Tigers. I'm going to pick the South Sydney Rabbitohs for obvious reasons, but can I just say their mojo of a month ago is a distant memory. They just forgotten how to tackle. The middle has subsided. Both props tend to miss between 8 to 10 tackles a game, so that's 20 on their own. I'm loving the fact Tallis Duncan's actually in the starting lineup. I think that it's long overdue. I don't know what they were trying to do. I know the coach was saying they were trying to protect him. I don't know what from. If they were trying to protect him from losing, well, that's happened more often than not. In actual fact, I think that I'd like to see Burgess start over Kepi. There's no point getting into the game when you're 10-12 nil down. but the Tigers are at the same vein. There's certain players for the Tigers. Taylor De Silva, he needs to find his way into this side. When I look at what certain Tigers are doing, he's the one guy who can just run through the middle and get some value. Funapole is the same. He's on the interchange bench. I'd actually throw him in there somewhere. Their starts haven't been that great from Seafarth Fainu to think that he needs to be on the bench. I hate subscribing to this notion that we're going to leave this guy on the bench who's absolutely going to come on. Your best 13 start the game. Your best first 20 minutes, your best 13 need to be on there. I'm glad for South Tallis Duncan's there because I think he is in the best 13. Penrith, we talked about Penrith Storm earlier. They don't compromise it. Their best 13 start. I've got South for notable reasons. Griff, what have you got?
Yeah, I did find that I had to put a bit of thought in this one. Because, I have a natural inclination not to want to tip the West Tigers because they generally lose. I'm still... I have tipped Souths because I sort of looked at the jersey. One of them is Cardinal and Myrtle with some white thrown in this week because they're away. And the other one is black, gold and white. I know Laurie Nichols used to say black and gold never fold. Well, black, gold and white don't fright. That's what I'm saying. I just made that up then. That's the best I got. It was not real good, I know.
That's a good one.
But individually, some of these players are quite good. But once they put on that jersey, they just become somewhat mediocre. They can win this game. And I know you mentioned it earlier, Shane, that they've been a little bit of a bogey side. Even though they've been down near the bottom of the ladder for a few years, they've sprung some upsets over the Rabbitohs, even when the Rabbitohs were much closer to full strength than what they line up at the moment. So they are a danger, but laws of probability have me tipping South Sydney for this game. Mika?
I have South for this one. I think, to me, it's not that hard to pick because the Tigers are just, they're just not the right side, I think. With their form and with all their performances, I think South can definitely push it over the line. Like, they have nothing to really win for because they're South, because their season is over. But I think South will definitely want to push for the win this week, especially against the bottom of the ladder.
Just looking at the Tigers logo, I know they got this 25 years or whatever, but I remember a few years ago they took the claws out of the Tigers.
Yeah, dumb.
Have they won the wooden spoon every year since they took the claws out?
Maybe.
We were taking the piss out of it.
We were.
Yeah.
But was that before they started this run of wooden spoons? I've got a feeling ever since the claws disappeared from the Tigers, that's when they've started this run of wooden spoons.
That is a very good observation.
Speaking of claws, Bears look like they're back.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Bears are back, baby. It looks like they're back.
Exciting. So will they be the Perth team?
No, they're going to call them... Well, they will be based in Perth.
Yeah, like Western Australia.
They're going to call them the Western Bears. I don't like it. I like, putting the name of the city there. Like, we've already got the West Tigers. How many Wests do you need? Like,
Yeah.
I know in the A-League, there's a Western United there. I don't know much about the A-League, but no one knows where they're from. If they were the Perth Bears, you'd know they were from Perth. But
Yeah.
I
'Cause
think what they're
heard-
trying to get is that synchronicity with the previous team that played out of WA. They used to be the Western Reds.
Yeah. Can I agree with you, Griff. The only thing I thought of, because I was with you, and the only epiphany I had after that was the West Coast Bears.
I could go with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, you know
I could
what
go
I mean?
with
Like,
that.
like
That's
you're the
okay.
Western Australian team.
Yeah.
West Coast Bears.
West Coast.
West
You know,
Coast.
could
West
play
Coast
maybe an
sounds
occasional-
better
maybe
than
a
Western.
game in Broome.
Because
You know what I mean?
actually, not about Broome, but I did hear somewhere that for like Heritage Round,
Oh, they'll go there.
every few, or maybe just every, few weeks maybe, they'll have a game at what's it?
North Sydney Oval.
Oval.
Yeah, well, fair call. I think that's
So I
a
think
fair
that's
call.
a good call.
What I read, and I mean nothing is cast in stone as yet, but I read an article. I think it was on the NRL site actually a couple of days ago, saying that they would play one home game against Manly, a sort of a heritage game, but it would likely be played
Fuck,
at
I
Ali.
hope. I mean, I shouldn't swear then. I hope the Bears beat Manly in that game because they
Yeah.
screwed. There's a whole podcast we could make on
Yeah,
how
but,
Manly.
it looks like they're not going to play at
Yeah,
North Sydney
what
Oval
happened?
other than a trial game.
Northern Eagles.
I'm not as like cultured.
Well, it's a trial game.
That's what I read. That
Ugh.
the NRL don't see North Sydney Oval as up to standard
Oh, really?
for an NRL game.
What's its capacity?
No, not much. And it's
Under
anyway.
Belmore?
Look, I've never actually been inside North Sydney Oval.
I have numerous times.
Yeah, but that's what I read. It as I said, it's not cast in stone, but you call
Yeah, I to be
the
fair.
West Australian team. They can't be playing too many.
No,
home
to be
games.
fair, like
They're going to play a lot of away games in Sydney, so
Yeah,
those
that's true.
former
That's very
Bears
true.
supporters.
That's very true.
It doesn't have to be a home game to go and support them.
I
you
think
know,
actually,
get around Sydney and go to these venues.
I think
and,
actually
yeah,
that's what
entertain.
Billy Moore said. Billy Moore said that. Billy Moore said that if you treat any game played in Sydney as a home game for us, just turn up.
Yeah.
And that's a fair call. Like if they play South Sydney at Acor,
Yeah.
well,
There's
mate, I'm telling you now,
3,000
did you watch
seats,
the
you know?
other day? There was 15 people, a dog and 2 cats. So, yeah. Anyway. We
But
digress.
it's good. While it hasn't been officially stamped, it looks as though that announcement is imminent.
Yeah. 9th place Dragons take on the 13th place Titans at 2 p.m. on Sunday. This is at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong. Why is this not loading? Try this again. Hang on. Ugh. Oh, this lady. Sorry. We had technical difficulties kicking off last week. We're having them during
During the game. A bit of HIA action.
Yeah, during. My apologies, people. It is working now. Okay, so we've got the 9th place Dragons taking on 13th place Titans. Hame Sele, well, he's out for the rest of the year, and we hope he's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Chest pains. After the match, they really kept a close eye on him. We found out the next day there was no irregular heartbeat, but because of what his symptoms were and the gravity of the situation, he will not come back this year.
I think better to be safe than sorry.
Oh,
he's
100%.
such a key player.
No, but he's a
Well,
human.
it's more
He's
than
a
just
human.
being a
He's
key
a
player.
human.
He's someone that deserves to be alive. So
Absolutely.
let's just pray for him and hope he's all right. Sully is also out. Fodawaker out for the Titans. It's a really interesting dynamic ahead of this game. You've got Jack Bird. He comes onto the interchange bench. I find that a really interesting move.
He's going to play Shane because Flanagan he's still listed there
He's
at
right.
6, but he's suspended.
Couchman's also on the interchange bench.
Two Couchmans on the bench, on the couch.
Couchman's on the bench, on the couch of the Toby and Ryan kind. And then you've got the Titans who, Fodawaker's out for them. It's a really interesting side that they've put forward. Tanner Boyd, extended bench. Joe Stimson, extended bench. But still, they've got Jaden Campbell, Kieran Foran, Sam Burrells at number 9, Keeney at fullback. Oh, I don't know what to do here. I look at these two sides. The fee guys in at centre for the Dragons. I'm just trying to. I actually looked at this game today and I thought to myself, I've got no idea. When I have no idea, I always pick the home side, so that's the Dragons at home. I'm picking the Dragons because they're at home. I think this is a game built for a guy like Zach Lomax. I think that they're just going to try and kick to his wing. They might overplay their hand. If the Titans want to play a game that allows them to win, the guy's David Fafita. If David Fafita wants to turn up this week, run, make meters, well then, good on him, they may win. That's probably the only way they're going to win. I've got the Dragons because they're at home. Griff, what do you got?
Yeah. Look, I couldn't remember who I tipped. I've just gone into my tips and I've actually gone the away team this week. Reason being, I'm not very good at tipping, perhaps. But I think that the speed and skill of the Gold Coast Titans might worry the Dragons. Now, the Dragons' success has been built on power game. Now, in saying, I'm going to contradict myself in a moment, but I'll get to that. The loss of Flanagan, I think, is quite significant. He's been really good for him this year. The loss of Moses Suli takes away one of, if not the biggest weapon that the Dragons possess with the ball in hand. What I'm going to contradict myself is that saying the Dragons seem to have developed a 1 week win, 1 week loss, 1 week win, 1 week loss. They're due to win this week because they lost last week. The Gold Coast, I didn't see that game. I did see the score. They were absolutely pumped by the Sharks, and I think I tipped the Sharks. I tipped the Gold Coast last week, and they got pumped.
We did. I did too.
Yeah.
Who did they play last time?
Sharks.
I think I picked
44-0 or something.
You picked
44
Sharks.
was a bad score for the Gold Coast
you
last
picked
week.
Sharks.
Anyway, I think the speed that the Gold Coast possess will get them a lot of tries. The Dragons' defense is not their strong point. If the Gold Coast forwards can stand up to the power game that the Dragons like to play, then they can win this game. I was a little bit disappointed last week with what the Dragons dished up. They dominated field position and possession in the first half and struggled to get the ball across the line. I'm sticking with the Gold Coast, but I'm not very confident, Mika.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go Gold Coast as well on this one. I think, like you said, no Kyle Flanagan, so that'll be a big loss. I don't know what it is, but always towards the back end of the year, there's always, well, it only happened last season, this season, but it's pretty crazy that two people have bitten someone in the last few rounds. Because last year, we had Jack Byton. And what do we have now?
And now they're biting Crichton.
That's right.
So,
I just on that, I thought it was a little bit harsh 4 weeks.
Can I just say, in actual fact,
yeah, 4 games.
It was actually Crichton actually didn't make
No.
No, he was fine.
Most these days players usually don't.
He didn't even realise.
And I was just like, well,
it's not that. Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I thought 4 weeks is
I think 4 weeks is a bit harsh. Well,
I could have gone with 1 week because realistically,
nothing
and while
happened.
you can't say the guy that got bitten, it was his fault, but he was pushing his nose down into a guy who couldn't move. He was on the ground, so he was pretty much defenseless for a guy nearly 100 kilo with his head being buried into the ground. I couldn't believe it when I heard he got 4 weeks, but what can you do?
4 weeks would be the rest of the season.
For the Dragons, most likely, because there's only 4 games left and they don't make the semis. Next game for Carl Flanagan's round 1 next year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
So who did you tip? Sorry,
so
Mika.
I have Titans for this one.
Oh, Titans. Okay.
What's our next game?
Hopefully there's no more Bitons with the Titans.
No. Last game of the round. We have the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, 4th placed. They're playing the Newcastle Knights at PointsBet Stadium. They're in 10th place at 4:05 on Sunday. Look, for both sides it seems business as usual, except for Mulatano named for the Sharks on the extended bench, and Brendan Hamlin-Uele also on the extended bench for the Sharks. So read into that what you will. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The Sharks they are basically playing for their top 4 aspirations. I think this is going to be in the 3 quarters. I think Jesse Ramian and Kale Iro, they're going to be the 2 players. You've got Dane Gagai, Dylan Lucas on the opposition. I think that's where the value is. I just think that this is where the Sharks are going to go wide. They're going to go round. They're going to be able to punch holes through the middle of that. I think Atkinson and Brayley are really going to try and do some good things. Look, Blake Brayley at halfback, that is probably where you'd say, are they going to be able to do it again against the Knights? Probably with the forward pack they got. Cameron McInnes, he's back in a hooker. Jack Williams in at lock. I think that's a far balanced Sharks forward pack. Saifidi, Brayley, Thompson, Frizzell, Pierce, Paul and Elliott. They're no slouches. I just think that the Sharks are a bit more balanced. I've got the Sharks winning this one in not a massive performance, but I think that they're just going to get over the line. Again, like I said, just a bit more of a balanced performance. Griff, what have you got?
Well, I'm going to go the other way, and I don't know why. I just looked at my tips, thought, oh, okay, I'll go on the away team here. I think when I did that, my thought process was Newcastle were quite good last week. I did see the shorts of that game. I didn't watch. Obviously, the Sharks were very good last week. I just didn't see it. But Newcastle, their season again on the line. I was really impressed with Fletcher Sharp. I think he got 3 tries last week. He is a player that will be part of this team long term. Ponga is the best player on the field. he needs to have a big one for Newcastle. I think he can do it. You mentioned Ramey and Ero as players who are probably going to be very dangerous this week. I agree that both those guys are very good ball in hand. I don't think they're very good defensively. So there's opportunities there, I think, for Newcastle. Newcastle forward pack's been quite good over the last few weeks. I'm not confident, and I'll probably regret it. I have surrendered my lead in one of my tipping comps, and another one where I was on top by a margin. I've now been caught, and I'm equal. But I think I'll just leave it as it is. And come the end of the round, I'm thinking, why did I do that? But Mika, be the voice of reason. Who wins this game?
I have Sharks for this one. I think, I think top 4, finals coming up very shortly. Let me just look at the ladder real quick.
The ladder. The all-important ladder.
All important. Okay, so if Knights win this one, then they will just slide into the 8.
Yes. That's why. That's one of the reasons I'm tipping. I think they'll be desperate.
Okay, yeah. I think they'll be desperate, but I don't think they will win. I think Sharks will just have more power, have better everything this game. And I think they're at home as well, Sharks. Yes, Sharks home game. So, yeah, I have Sharks winning this one.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. Maybe I should change my tip.
All good. Well, that's pretty much it for this round.
Fun.
What do we call this round? 24?
24.
We are getting to
24.
So yep, we're getting closer to
Closer.
closer to the end, and yep, that means that we we are getting towards the final series.
Yay.
Who do we think makes the 8? I mean, I know we tick off Storm and Panthers. They're already in there. Roosters with 32 and Sharks, they're already in there. After that, do we see any changes at the bottom end of the top 8?
No.
Bulldogs, Sea Eagles, Cowboys, Dolphins. Can anyone force their way in, do you think?
I think Knights might slip their way in, but I don't see any team in the 8 kind of dropping spots.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, Knights could get in there, but I'm not sure who would lose their spot for them to get in.
Yeah. Well, the Dolphins are on 26. They're equal with Dragons. And then you've got, I think the Seagulls, they're 29. They've only really got to win one more game, and I think they're pretty much guaranteed. Cowboys at 28. They're still got to buy up their sleeve. So I do think the Cowboys will get there. They've really only got to win one of their last 3. Plus they've got the bye. So I think the only vulnerable team, well, I can't say that, but the team that I think could be flipped out is the Flippers, the Dolphins. So the Dragons are equal with them. The Knights are 24, Raiders 24. Broncos, mathematically, they could get to 30. I don't think that's likely with all their injuries. And I don't think they're going to get to 30 anyway. Shane, do you think the Dolphins will miss out, or the Cowboys? Or?
It depends on this week's results. Like the key one for me is the differential for the Cowboys is only 5, but the people below them is not like people below them in the minors. So I actually think the 8 might be, unless the Dolphins might dip out and get beaten on points. I think the Cowboys are safe. It's that Dolphins position for me.
Yeah. Yep. It'd be interesting if some of these teams just outside actually can cause some upsets this week. Raiders v Manly, Knights v Sharks, Dragons. Well, they should be the favourites against. They have to win against the Titans. But none of those teams, like, really, I think, they're a top 8 side. There's you know, the top 4 locked in. Bulldogs pretty much locked in. They've been good. I think Manly locked in. But 7 and 8, whoever ends up in 7 and 8, I think they probably get bundled out against the Bulldogs and the Sea Eagles week 1 of the finals.
Yeah.
That's my prediction for, a month down the track.
Yeah.
They don't look strong, whoever gets into 7 and 8.
No, I agree. But it'll be very interesting to see moving forward.
Absolutely.
So that's it. That is
For another week.
That is another big week in rugby league. Thank you for being a part of the show. Chameleon, Mika, as always, thanks for being a part of it. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, listeners.
And
thank you, Shano and Mika, especially. Again, Shano, who's kept us on the air.
Yep, all good.
Under duress.
All good. The computer is failing, but we're working it out.
Yeah,
but you
we
guys,
got there.
Everyone, take care. Be good. Be safe. And see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.